I've got to get to...
Dude! Whoa, dude!
Chronicle is a film that came out in 2012 that's directed by Josh Trank and co-written by Max Landis and Josh Trank. So Chronicle is a $50 Patreon request from my cousin Christian Munoz. Chronicle is a film that I've always known about since its release. As I said, it came out in 2012, so at that time I was probably 18 years old. So I guess technically I wasn't a teenager, but I mean, I was a teenager. Even though I'm legally considered an adult, I think back on my 18-year-old self, and I was definitely a teenager. But this was a film that I always skipped because I just didn't think it looked very good, and for a long time, I just haven't really been into the superhero stuff. You know, even since high school, it just didn't do anything for me really at that time either. So this is a film that I intentionally ignored for quite some time. But since my cousin requested it, here I am watching it, and I gotta say, like, this movie's pretty fucking bad. And I really thought for a second that since it's got such fresh reviews, and that not just my cousin requested it, but I have some close friends who I respect their film taste, and even they said that Chronicle wasn't too bad of a film. So I was like, okay, there's perhaps more to this film than I originally expected. And I was wrong. As I said, this film is pretty horrible, and it basically just boils down to the fact that there's absolutely nothing fresh about this film. Like, not even a slight hint at originality or creative execution. This entire film just felt incredibly run-of-the-mill, extremely one-dimensional, and I gotta say, like, I've never really been on the hating Dane DeHaan train, even though I know a lot of people don't care for him as an actor. But he was bad in this movie. I mean, he has some laughably atrocious moments in this film, but I'll probably dive more into that later. But Dane DeHaan, along with every character that's in this film, was just like cardboard cutout characters. There was absolutely no dimensionality to them, no complexity, and the kind of complexity that they try to give these characters are just so cliched and poorly executed. Dane DeHaan basically is just the troubled teenager who has an abusive father, and the way they portray the abusive father in this film is just, it's laughable, because there's absolutely no depth or substance to his character. It's just like every moment that you see him and every moment that he's around the kid, he just wants to beat the shit out of him, just for like no reason. And I understand that there are abusive fathers out there that are perhaps like the abusive father that's portrayed in this film, but just in terms of the execution and me watching it in this film, it comes off like somebody who really has no idea what an abusive father can be like, just shoehorned him into this film. And I feel like this film could have taken the abusive father role and actually attempted to make something substantive out of it, and we could have had some more complexities of these characters unravel through this abusive dynamic, but instead it's just, you know, Dane DeHaan hates his life because his dad beats him every second that he sees him, and that's all we get. But again, that pretty much goes for every character in this film. Michael B. Jordan's character is also just like, okay, whatever. We don't get to learn anything interesting about his character with all the time that he's in this film, and eventually the filmmakers decide to kill him off with incredibly laughable CGI lightning, and I almost thought it was a joke. Like, when that scene happened, I was like, okay, that's supposed to be played for laughs, right? Haha, funny comedic relief moment. He got struck by CGI lightning while he was flying in the sky. And then literally the next scene cuts to his grave and everybody at his funeral, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? It was so incredibly bad. I mean, horrible execution. And I remember when it happened, I was in denial. I was like, I watched this with my partner, and she was like, is that his grave? Are they really trying to make it to where he just died from that? And I was in denial. I was like, no, it's just cutting to a different scene. Somebody else died. But then I slowly realized, in all of its unforsaken glory, that that's where this film was going. Because it's just by the numbers, exactly what you would expect out of this kind of movie. There's just a bunch of troubled teens who, meet each other by coincidence, and they go and explore into this really weird, uncharted area, and then they all touch this forsaken object, and then they all of a sudden have superpowers. And for a film that got such positive reception, I thought it would have something a bit more creative than that. But no, it unfortunately does not. And there's a scene in this film, kind of when the third act starts to get going, where Dane DeHaan gives this spiel about his new understanding of evolution and natural selection. And he's basically like, yo, I've been learning so much about evolution, and it's like, I learned that the apex predator is one of the deciding factors in natural selection. And I was like, okay, is that going to be your thing? Is that going to be your new logic as to why you go on a kill crazy rampage by the third act of the film?
I've been doing a lot of reading, like online about just evolution and natural selection and how
And sure enough, that's exactly what the film decides to do. All that angry hormonal energy that he has just gets unleashed in the third act of this film. And I thought I would get some entertainment out of it. And I did a little bit, but in a way that just wasn't intentional. As I said, the whole apex predator thing, I knew was going to be reincorporated in some way, but it was reincorporated in the most laughable, lazy way that I couldn't even believe they went that far with it. But basically, as Dane DeHaan's last friend is trying to convince him to, stop being a kill-crazy hormonal teenager, he says,
I'm an apex predator.
And that was probably the moment that I laughed hardest throughout any unintentionally hilarious moments in this film. But it was just like, what were you thinking? Who wrote that? And who made Dane DeHaan deliver that? Obviously Josh Trank, or I don't even remember his name, but why did he do that? Anyway, this film blows. There's honestly not even really much I can praise about the movie. Even the effects are pretty fucking horrible. I know it's 2012 and everything, but even for 2012 standards, the effects are pretty atrocious. And I get that it was a low budget kind of film, but this is technically still like a Hollywood type film, so I'm still going to say that I was not impressed at all by the CGI effect. I don't want to hear any excuses about it, to be frank. But overall, I'll give this film a soft 2 out of 10.
I've been doing a lot of reading, online about evolution and natural selection.
I'm sorry, cousin. I know that this was a film that you obviously like, but for me, this just ain't it. But anyways, that's what I gotta say about Chronicle. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about Chronicle, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.